We are often taught that money is the root of all corruption, and that true humility means rejecting the comfort of material wealth and worldly success. But does living in poverty really keep your soul pure? Or is it merely a cage that traps the great values you were meant to give back? In this quiet sanctuary, a hidden genius has built a prison out of his own modesty, believing that being poor is the only way to stay holy. He hides away from a world he once influenced, choosing the shadows of old paper over the bright lights of recognition and the weight of gold. He convinced himself that his talent was a gift that should never be sold, yet his empty pockets whisper a different story of growing helplessness. The illusion of noble poverty is a beautiful lie that masks the tragedy of wasted potential and the inability to protect what we truly hold dear. Julian was once a master of light and space, an architect who dreamed of cities and watched his visions rise toward the clouds in steel and stone. Fame and fortune were at his fingertips, yet he feared they would stain his artistic integrity and turn his passion into a cold, commercial machine. He retreated into the silence of this bookstore, using his humility as a shield against the pressures of a world that measures value by the dollar. But the shield of poverty began to crack when he realized that his virtue could not pay for the medicine his mother desperately needed to survive. His refusal of wealth had become a chain, binding his hands just when he needed them to be strongest to care for his own family. Like a flower blooming in a basement, his talent was exquisite but invisible, providing no fragrance or beauty to the world that so desperately needed it. The master in the shadows had become a ghost of his former self, haunting the very halls of knowledge he once swore he would protect forever. Then came the day the world knocked back. A red notice of demolition was posted, threatening to tear down his sanctuary for a new development. He stood paralyzed as the cold realization set in. His love for these books and this history meant nothing without the power to defend them. He sought help from those he once knew, but without financial standing or a current reputation, his voice was just a whisper in a gale. Poverty is not a virtue when it strips away your ability to protect what you love. It is a slow erosion of your influence and agency. His hands, capable of designing monuments, could not produce a single coin to save the cathedral of knowledge he had called home for decades. The heritage of the town was about to be turned into rubble, and Julian realized that his humble silence was actually a form of betrayal. He saw clearly now that humility without power is just disguised helplessness, a choice that leaves you a spectator to the destruction of beauty. If he wanted to save his world, he had to stop hiding from the tools of the world and learn to master them once again. He sat beneath an old mango tree, its branches heavy with fruit that had fallen and rotted on the ground because no one harvested it. Your talent is like this tree. If you do not allow it to bear fruit and be used, your gifts simply rot into the ground. Then he looked at a simple knife. In the hands of a cook, it prepares a feast. In the hands of a killer, it destroys. Money is exactly like that knife. It is merely a tool, and its character is defined entirely by the person who chooses to hold it. A good person with resources can feed the hungry and build libraries, while a bad person will use those same resources to cause harm. To reject the tool is to reject the ability to do good. It is a misunderstanding of what it means to be a truly virtuous person. He had allowed his fear of the knife's edge to keep him from feeding his soul and the souls of those around him in need. Your brilliance is a resource meant to be traded for the means to change your environment and protect the people you love and cherish. The time for passive observation was over. The master was ready to pick up his tools and reclaim his place in the active world. Julian returned to his desk and turned on the light. the darkness of his self-imposed exile was finally shattered by a new and powerful purpose. He worked through the night, his mind on fire. He accepted a massive project he once would have turned down out of a false sense of pride. He wasn't working for the fame anymore. He was working for the capital required to buy back the land and save the history he loved. Think of a lighthouse standing in the dark. If its light is not lit, it is just a cold pillar of stone in the night. And you have a responsibility to be successful and to be wealthy, not for vanity, but to become a beacon that can guide others home. Without that light, you are useless to the ships lost at sea. Your success is the energy that fuels the light that saves many lives. Months later, the bookstore began to transform. New wood, strong glass, and bright lamps replaced the decay and the shadows of the past. It became a community hub, a library filled with children and scholars, all because Julian decided that his talent deserved to be paid for. His mother received the best care, her health returning as Julian used his wealth to provide the security he once thought was a spiritual burden. He was still the same humble man, but now he was a man with the means to act on his kindness and change his community. A lit lighthouse doesn't brag about its light. It simply shines because that is what it was built to do for the world's benefit. Julian smiles now, a peaceful and genuine smile. He no longer fears money. He has mastered it and made it his servant for good. He sees his success in the eyes of every person who finds knowledge within these walls and in the stability of his own family's life. Do not confuse humility with a fear of influence. True humility is knowing you have a gift and doing whatever it takes to share it. Step out of the shadows of lack and insufficiency. The world does not need more people who are small. It needs more people who are capable. When you combine financial power with a good soul, you become an unstoppable force for positive change. In a world that needs you, your potential is too great to be buried in the name of a false virtue. Be brave enough to succeed and let your light shine. What belief about money are you carrying that is actually just your fear of standing out and taking responsibility for your true greatness? Break the curse of noble poverty today. The world is waiting for the fruit of your labor and the light of your unique, powerful soul.